that the coronavirus in China is having on retail in America?
Well, first of all, let's start with China, because those retailers that are dependent on China as their consumption base have got a real challenge on their hands, because people are clearly not shopping. And I do know that the physical retail business there is down significantly, Hong Kong all the way through mainland China, and I think now into South Korea as well. So that in itself is a challenge if you're dependent on that. Now, coming back into the United States, you haven't seen the impact yet. All these earnings reports are interesting, but that's all ending February 1st. So, and the virus really took really a hold after that in terms of its conversation and impact. So you're going to see that in the next quarter, and then the quarter after that for sure. So I definitely think, knowing what I know about the work shortage there, the stoppage, the limitations that are being put on companies, being put on offices in terms of how many people can congregate at a certain place in a certain time, is so restrictive that it's got to slow down production, and that will be as long as this takes place. I understand that they're starting to now allow people to come back into the factories slowly, surely, gradually. Yeah. But it's going to have an impact, certainly for the first quarter, and I think perhaps the second quarter.
So your successor, Jeff Gannett of Macy's, out with earnings yesterday, did warn that it was having an impact here in terms of tourists that visit U.S. stores. How big of a chunk of the industry is that here?
So last year, let's just talk about China, for example. Last year, the Chinese impact was 3 million travelers spending about $6,700 a year. That includes lodging and the like. But all in of what they spend at retail is still significant, about $15 billion. Let's say that gets reduced in half, and then it's whatever it is, $7 or $8 billion. I don't think that is significant to the size of the purchasing issue that we're talking about here, but I can almost assure you that there's going to be an impact there and to that degree. But I think the broader tourism is a bigger question. So are the Italians going to travel? Are any of the Europeans going to travel? And that's a much more significant number, more like 120 billion. That's a big number. And so if that gets even reduced by 10%, it's meaningful.
What about just domestic U.S. consumers? Do they get spooked by these sorts of things and just buy online instead for the next month or two?
I don't think so yet, but I do think there is a beginning to be a worry there. So I don't believe that's the case right now. I think what you're going to see in the United States is a continuation of where the consumer has been shopping, which has been trading down for sure for the last couple of years now. It's why the off-price retailers are doing as well as they are doing. And I think that middle America target is the one that's shopping the least. And if they are, they're either shopping down or they're shopping online.
We were just talking about Macy's. We were actually looking at companies with very low valuations in the market, trading under what, 6 times this year's earnings.
Yeah, I noticed that also.
Terry, how does Gannett turn it around?
Confidence. That's what's going to turn it around. I think when Macy's has consistent delivery of exceeding expectations for 3-4 quarters in a row, you all and others, investors, are going to have confidence. And when that happens, the stock will start to perform.
In terms of U.S. consumer as a whole, do you think this spooks confidence? Or again, do you think the U.S. consumer remains strong and rates where they are?
Well, the consumer, look, the consumer has income. The job numbers are terrific. There's still good reason why the economy should continue positive into the next several quarters. So all that momentum remains. I don't think that changes. So unless something more dramatic than what's happened to date in terms of this virus spreading, and I don't see that. I think we're more likely to address this virus more quickly than the historic pandemics, which usually take about 6 or 7 months for the vaccine to take effect.
Very quickly, finally, how dependent is your industry on China as supply chain? And is it too much? I mean, we had the trade war last year, and now this.
The answer is yes. It is too much. And it's by category. Now, certain categories are much less. The beauty industry is far less affected. The footwear, the shoe industry is greatly affected because something like 90% of all footwear of under $100 at retail are coming out of China, and we all need to diversify that strategy. And they will do that, by the way. I know that will happen over time, but that's not going to happen in 2020.
Terry, great to see you. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Pleasure.